Typhoon Haikui, which has since lost some of its strength, made landfall in China's Fujian province early on Tuesday after lashing Taiwan for the previous 2 days. Thousands of people were forced to flee their houses, and many vehicles were carried away by floods. The typhoon, which had a top wind speed of 20 meters (66 feet) per second, forced around 114,400 people to leave dangerous regions. In a little more than 24 hours, rainfall in a few places in Fujian exceeded 300 millimeters (1 foot). After a fire vehicle carrying 9 rescuers was carried away by floodwaters during a mission in Fuzhou City, 2 firefighters were reported missing, according to official media. In the floodwaters, furniture could be seen swaying up and down. Social media posts revealed that vehicles were washed away in the currents, and that some cars stuck in wet areas were entirely buried. Likewise, closed were schools in the cities of Xiamen, Quanzhou, and Fujian, as well as Fuzhou. State media stated that numerous flights were cancelled at 2 airports in Fuzhou and Quanzhou, as well as the closure of parks and tourist attractions, as well as ports, coastline, and river transportation. Around 5 in the morning, the typhoon made landfall, losing power and changing to a tropical storm. The national forecaster reported at 2100 GMT on Monday. Forecasters anticipate it to continue weakening when it moved through southern Guangdong province as of the last report. During previous typhoons, such as Typhoon Talim and Typhoon Doksuri, the buoy also collected real-time data on the ocean's state. Typhoon Saola made landfall in southern Guangdong province over the weekend, killing at least 1 person and leaving a path of destruction and flooding in several regions of adjacent Shenzhen, Hong Kong, and Macau. Typhoon Haikui struck the region shortly after Saola. Likewise, according to China's meteorological authorities, Typhoon Saola is the 9th typhoon of the year. The Chinese Academy of Sciences (CAS) reports that data on Typhoon Saola have been recorded by a wave-powered floating observation buoy that is in the area. The Guangzhou Institute of Energy Conversion (GIC), which is a part of CAS, released the buoy at a marine ranch in Zhuhai, in the province of Guangdong in southern China. When the super typhoon moved over the area, it recorded the formation, growth, and extinction of the storm and collected live video data. 10 kilowatts of wave energy are currently placed in it, from 12 volts to 380 volts in voltage, as well as other types of common electricity like alternating and direct currents can be outputted steadily by the device. Around 3:30 in the morning, Saola made landfall in Zhuhai. A near-eye wind gust of 42 to 46 meters per second was recorded on September 2 during this time. A total of 780,000 people in Guangdong and 100,000 more in the adjoining province of Fujian were evacuated on Friday. Over 80,000 fishing vessels arrived back at the harbor. The start of the school year was delayed until the following week in numerous places, while employees stayed at home. On Friday, 460 flights were cancelled, which resulted in a suspension of trading on the stock exchange in Hong Kong and hundreds of people being left stranded at the airport. Between Friday night and Saturday night, all trains entering or departing Guangdong province were stopped by rail authorities, according to CCTV, the Chinese state media network. Prior to the storm, the Hong Kong Observatory issued a number 10 hurricane alert, the strongest signal under the city's weather system since Typhoon Mangkhut devastated Hong Kong in 2018. This warning was the first of its kind, with maximum sustained winds of 121 miles per hour. Saola, according to the observatory, swept the city's southernmost point at approximately 11 p.m. on Friday, roughly 19 miles south of the Tsim-Sha-Tsui shopping center. The eyewall of the storm, which encircles its eye, was sweeping across the city overnight and posing a high threat to the region, according to the agency. It stated that the highest sustained wind speeds had decreased to 90 miles per hour by Saturday morning. The observatory issued a severe flood warning for coastal areas and speculated that the highest water level would be equivalent to that during Mangkhut, which destroyed scaffolding on city buildings and uprooted trees. Dozens of people have died as a result of the worst flooding and heavy rains that numerous regions of China have seen in recent years, including remote mountainous areas of the nation's capital, Beijing. Around 400 people took refuge at makeshift shelters as the storm's powerful winds and torrential rains pounded Hong Kong, and ferry and bus services were suspended. In an effort to keep their homes from flooding, residents of low-lying neighborhoods piled sandbags at their doorways. 7 persons were hurt and sought treatment at public hospitals, in addition to the dozens of trees that were felled. All school activities on Saturday were to be cancelled. On Friday, some locals had to still work, including Shirley Nang, a security guard. In order to be prepared for the storm, according to Nang, people are storing up on food. She merely hoped there would be no fatalities brought on by the tropical cyclone. The neighboring gambling mecca of Macau's weather authorities also issued a flood warning, forecasting that by Saturday morning, water levels in low-lying regions would reach 1.5 meters. Mid-afternoon resulted in the closure of the international bridge that links Hong Kong, Macau, and Zhuhai. Ho Ayat-seng, the ruler of Macau, gave the order to cease casino operations. Also, more than 40 people were hurt by Typhoon Haikui in Taiwan, which also left behind uprooted trees, debris, and transportation disruptions. Although no fatalities have been reported as of yet, powerful winds have already caused damage to the infrastructure. As the risk of landslides and flooding increased across southern Taiwan, more than 7,000 people were evacuated from mountainous areas. The suspension of transportation services and a significant power loss were caused by the 200 km/h strong winds that were reported. At roughly 3 p.m. on Sunday, the storm made landfall in Tating County on the east coast that faces the Pacific. On Green Island, just off the shore, a guest house collapsed, and approximately 75,000 residences in the Tating and Hualien counties on the east coast momentarily lost power. According to state media Xinhua, the finance ministry announced over the weekend that it has set aside 1 billion yuan for floods, droughts, or crop pests. The government will provide 200 million yuan, $27.43 million in disaster relief funding to assist areas affected by typhoons and floods, the state broadcaster announced on Tuesday. Typhoons Doksuri and Cannon last month resulted in severe flooding in northern and northeastern China, and they also gave Beijing its worst recorded rainfall in 140 years. The aftermath of Typhoon Doksuri, intense flooding and landslides, as well as significant damage to homes, crops, livestock, and infrastructure, were brought on by Typhoon Doksuri, which raced through most of north and northeast China between late July and early August. On the morning of July 28, Doksuri made landfall in the southeast province of Fujian. It then moved north toward Beijing, Shenzhen, and Hebei, where it caused 140 years' worth of rainfall to be broken, before making its way to the northeast provinces of Jilin, Liaoning, and Heilongjiang. Finally, on August 4, the relentless rains stopped, but rescue activities continued in full force, with first responders and volunteers continuing to look for the missing, oversee cleanup work, and aid the millions of people who had been forced to evacuate because of the typhoon. The most recent statistics, which were released by official media, offer a bleak picture of Doksuri's effects. As of August 11 in Beijing, 33 persons had passed away and 18 were still missing. 3.89 million people were reportedly affected. 3,197 square kilometers of crops, an area larger than half of Prince Edward Island, were devastated, and 16 people were reported missing, and 29 people were confirmed deceased in the neighboring Hebei province. Rescue efforts in these regions have been particularly difficult, according to numerous media outlets, as isolated settlements are cut off from roads, electricity, and telephones. The northern province of Heilongjiang, where 374,049 people have been relocated and 2,580 square miles have been affected, has also reported similar problems. There have been impacts on kilometers of cropland. Farmers estimate that each household in the region lost at least $27,800, 150,000 yuan, as a result of the tropical cyclone, with Wushang, the province's most severely affected town and the hometown of rice, taking the brunt of the damage. Typhoon Cannon increased the amount of rain in several affected areas about 2 weeks after Typhoon Doksuri landed in China. And that ends today's episode. Please subscribe to Weather Collapse if you want to know more, and be updated on the latest news about natural calamities or disasters happening all over the world, and don't forget to like today's video. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.